been developing within this project. Hopefully you've become familiar with Fusion by undertaking the introductory videos so you're aware of the workspace and how to model using 2D sketches and then applying 3D commands. So please do not simply copy this design shown on screen at the moment, but better yet, adapt the techniques that I'm using and the different tools to go through and develop your own more creative watch design. So if we check out the overall watch design and we have a look down in the feature tree, notice I've got one sketch, which we'll have a look at shortly. And then I've just been really applying extrusions with a decal, which we'll bring in at a later stage. And going all the way back, just showing how I've gone through and developed it. So we've got the hands and the bands and the watch case, and then jumping all the way to the end. And what we might do is just have a closer look at the sketch. So I'm applying all the detail to the one sketch. So it does become a little bit overwhelming with dimensions, but just for context, this is what we're going to be developing shortly. So the little tiny stem in the middle, then the hands that wrap around, obviously the watch or the stem, and then the watch face, the case, those connectors, the lugs, and then onto the bands on the outer section. So we'll just finish that sketch, and we're going to go through now and develop our own watch design. So for best practice. So I'm going to create a new design, and then we start creating our sketch, selecting the ground plane, and it's always going to be best working at the origin point. So obviously be creating the predominant shape that your watch face will be. It might be circular, might be rectangular, triangular. This is where you're going to be applying those different techniques and just using a similar sort of process that I'm undertaking here. I'll speed this portion of the video up. Okay, all we've done so far is created the watch face, which is 40mm diameter. Sorry, the case is 40mm diameter. The inner watch face would be 36. The tiny little stem that the hands sit on, that is 1mm. 2mm for the hour or the minute hand, doesn't really matter at the moment. And same thing, 3mm for the hour or the minute hand. We'll allocate that now as we start drawing the hands. We'll speed this process up again. Okay, what we've gone through and developed now is just the minute hand, so that's 12 long by 1 wide, and the hour hand, which is 9 long by also 1 wide. You want to just make sure it's obviously connecting to these circles that we've created, because they're obviously going to be the continuation of that those hands that connect onto that central stem. Okay, now what we're going to go through and do is trim any unwanted lines, and also be applying some fillets just to round off those edges of the hands. You might have noticed I've also gone through and just been using construction lines to make sure when I'm creating the hands, they're symmetrical, so they're smack bang in the middle there, and I'm going out 1/2 mil in that direction and 1/2 mil in that direction to make sure it's even in terms of the hands are 1 mil wide. Okay, so let's get going with using the trim tool to get rid of any unwanted lines, which I think I'm pretty good. Okay, the next step is going to be applying the watch bands. So the band above is going to be 90 long and 20 wide, and the band below is going to be 120 long and 20 wide. You might have just noticed I've gone through and used the construction lines just to make it, once again, so it's nice and centered. So I've gone out 10 in either direction, so therefore I can be applying those bands a bit easier, quicker. So we've just completed the hands, so 90 tall by 20 wide, and the bottom one being 120 by 20 wide. You also might have noticed I've applied a fillet to the corners there to round it off with a radius of 10 mil. Now let's go through and connect the bands to the watch, and that's developing these little connectors, which are referred to as lugs. They're going to be 8 mil in length and 2 mil wide. Okay, there we have it. So we've attached the lugs at either end, just for sort of a bit more clarity. So connecting the bands onto the watch was 2 mil each lug is wide, and then 8 mil in sort of length from the inner corner. And so we'll apply them to both of them. So now what we want to go through and do is now start applying, I guess, our three-dimensional details, start applying extrudes. So we're going to finish our sketch. I'm going to hit the little house so we get that isometric view. And now let's start applying these different extrudes. And it's going to be best to start with the small detail on the inside, and we'll gradually make our way out. I'll be applying this and then I'll go over how I've gone through and attached them, just to make it a little bit quicker with applying these extrudes. This should also be provided in the video description. Okay, coming back, I've gone through and applied those different textures. Notice I've also renamed, or I've named the different bodies in our browser just to make it a little bit easier. So what you can be doing is going through here. Some of you'll have to go through and download, and then you can be dragging and dropping straight onto the bodies here, or be dragging them into the browser. You can be applying textures to whole bodies or different faces, and these are what are present in there. So obviously the red and the blue one should be pretty straightforward. Glass is being applied to the top, chrome is being applied to the stem, enamel paint's being applied to the face, and concrete for the body, or the case, sorry. With any of these, if you, sometimes they won't have all the colors, so what you can do is just right click on them, then you can duplicate and then double click on it and then change the color, roughness or reflectance. Can be really suitable to make it a little bit different. Next step is going through and adding a little bit more watch detail, and that's going to be creating those, I guess, the clock face. Continue to edit our sketch. And here is a great way to go through and create the numbers or the points around our clock face. So going to create and then circular pattern, selecting the object that I want to obviously duplicate on that circular pattern, and the center point, because we referred it to the origin, we can just select that center point. And then the quantity, we're obviously going to want that as 12. You might have it as just the 12, 3, 6, 9, so it'd be 4, and then selecting OK. Now going finishing sketch and then applying extrudes to those 12. So just going over, we've gone through and created those points just by adapting our sketch and applying a circular pattern, and then just extruding them at an offset of 1 mil, because that's what the face was, and then a distance of 2 mil, and selecting OK. Next step is creating the lugs, the band, and then lastly the graphic. So the lugs, we've applied an extrude, we've offset at 4 mil, just so it's halfway up the side of the case, and we've done a symmetrical direction of 2 mil each way. We've created this as a join because we want the material all to be the same. Now we'll move on to the bands. So we've applied the bands once again, and it's an extrude offset of 4 mil. So it's central to those lugs, and the distance is direction is symmetrical, and it was 1 mil. You might want to go through and apply some different colors and textures to it. The previous one, I went through and applied a acrylic from memory. It looks quite good. And I've also put a little circle in the end here to sort of show that it's going to be some sort of magnetic mechanism. Lastly, we want to attach the graphic onto the face. Now, how I've gone through and done that is created this graphic in Illustrator, just using the pen or the shape tools, and then applying that technique is just using the blend tool. When you're saving this, go File, Export, and Export As, and it's going to be best to export it as a PNG. When doing that, it allows you to specify it be a transparent background. So if it's currently a white background, when we import it into Fusion, the texture or the material underneath would be presented. So to go through and add our decal, we're just going to go to Insert and then Decal, and then locate the position of that graphic. And now I want to specify what face it's going on to. So selecting OK. It's having a bit of an issue over here, but for a demonstration, I think it will be fine. And I'll just minimize that and turn off our sketch so we can go through and see it. So review all features within the timeline. Make sure you're saving your design as you're going through the process. Remember, it is cloud saved. It doesn't save onto your desktop. The next video will go over rendering your watch design. All the best.